My name is Taylor Andelin. I am the communications manager at the Metro Richmond Zoo.
I'm Alex Smith. I am the assistant curator registrar.
I'm Cristen Lee. I'm the animal care manager here.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. And y'all, it's our first interview episode of 2025, and I'm so excited to be starting off the year with a whole bunch of new people from new places that you have not heard from before. And we are starting it off in Virginia with a trip to the Metro Richmond Zoo. You're going to be hearing from three people, which is always a fun mess, as I like to say on the podcast. And we're going to go just hit a bunch of topics. Now, I'll give you fair warning. This was recorded back in October before the new pygmy hippo was born at the zoo. So you're not going to hear anything about that, though I do hope to get some information about the little baby in an upcoming episode if I can get my butt back down to Richmond. But regardless of whether that happens or not, there's a lot of really great stuff in here, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with y'all. So before we get to that, a couple of quick reminders. Make sure that you hit subscribe so you don't miss any interview episodes or any Zoo News episodes. Make sure that you're following along on the socials at Rossifari and on TikTok at Rossifari Pod. And don't forget that you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. So with all of that said, let's get back to our interview with the team from Metro Richmond Zoo. All right, so let's start off. We'll go around the room and everybody can tell me who you are and what you do here and where we are in the first case. So.
My name is Taylor Andelin. I am the communications manager at the Metro Richmond Zoo. That's where we're at. So I do all the public relations. I write all the news media. I do the website, social media, things like that. Cool.
I'm Alex Smith. We're at the Metro Richmond Zoo. I am the assistant curator registrar and also take part in our education, conservation programs as well, and do a lot of collection management.
Nice.
Yeah, dabbles in everything, also interns.
Yep, interns in our education program.
Yeah, multi-talented lady.
Impressive. Is there anything you don't do here? Maybe that would be easier.
Oh, that'd be hard.
She's like, I just got off of my gift shop.
I was going to say, gift shop, concessions. Other than that,
Sling a chicken nugget.
I have, hands in all the cookie jars.
I'm sure you'd be
here.
great at it. You could do it.
Oh, no, that's all right.
I mean, I'm just saying, you guys do have really good barbecue sauce here. We had lunch.
Oh,
today.
thank you.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So
So you got that going for you, which is nice. And you are?
I'm Cristen Lee. I'm the animal care manager here. So I kind of dabble in all things animals.
Cool. I mean, that's a pretty important part of the zoo, I would say. Yeah.
The animals are arguably the most important. So
Arguably. Yeah. I mean, we think so.
Yeah.
Very cool. So this is the podcast's first time here at Metro Richmond, but not my first time. I've been here a bunch of times. And I love it here. It's a very cool facility.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm excited to finally be back now that I'm doing the podcast and to get this going. And so there's something that I wanted to talk to you about right off the bat. And that is a bat. And I'm going to pull out my phone because this is an audio-only podcast, but that's just how we roll here. Because when we were looking at the bats today, we noticed that there was a bat here that looks very different than all of the other bats. And it is that bat. And I don't know. So to describe this to my listeners from my layman terms, it is a bat that has kind of like almost white and dark streaked wings, whereas all the other ones are very like dark gray or black.
Very modeled.
Yes, modeled.
Yeah.
That is a good word for it. Yes.
Sure.
And so I'm wondering if you know anything about that.
Sure. So they can have some variation in colors. These guys are Indian flying foxes. So those big, cute puppy dog faced bats with the gigantic wings that we all love. They're beautiful. We love them. The cutest things on earth with spooky wings. But they can have a lot of color variation just within the species. But sometimes that can due to advanced age. Like, we've had bats live up to like 17, 18 years old here.
Wow.
So that can be advanced age. It can also be, in some cases, like exposure to different wavelengths of light. So if there's, not enough of a spectrum of light that they receive, their melanin will kind of change to accommodate that. But that bat in particular is one of our older ladies, and it is just kind of due to her advancing age.
That's really cool.
So she's just kind of got like we would get, wrinkles and gray hair. She's got some sparkles.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a beautiful look. Like, and I will post photos of this, but it's just stunning. And also, I have vitiligo, and so I actually connect with when I see an animal that has different colorations or a lack of pigmentation or something like that.
Piebald kind of patterns,
It honestly is a thing that made me come to terms with and actually be okay with my own issue. Because when that first started to develop on me, I'm not a person who embarrasses easily, but for some reason it was the thing where I was like, oh, I hate this about myself and I'm embarrassed about this. And that was very hard for me. And then I started finding animals in the animal world. It happens with apparently bats and with elephants and with all kinds of other animals. And it really made me, like, now I'm cool with it. Now I actually think it's beautiful on me. I'm like, heck yeah.
It's beautiful and really helps demonstrate kind of just the variability and diversity in the animal kingdom. Is we can apply that to our lives as well, as we all look different, we're all different, and we all fit in the earth we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So, and you said you're bad at talking. See, I don't need to edit you. You're good at this. Good job. That was beautiful.
101.
And so let's while we're just talking animal stuff, one of the coolest things at this zoo is that there is some really amazing cheetah stuff going on. Y'all are great at breeding cheetahs, and on top of that, there's a very special friendship at this zoo. And so why don't y'all tell me a little bit about all of the cheetah stuff going on here?
Yeah, Alex is the perfect person for this. She's a cheetah lady.
We do have an awesome cheetah breeding conservation program here at the zoo. Over, the last 10 to 12 years here, we've had 142 cheetahs born.
That is so many cheetahs.
Yes.
Wow.
A lot. Yeah.
And it's something, a cause for celebration as well with them being endangered. We uniquely do also have cheetahs on exhibit as well. So we have our conservation center, which is off exhibit from the public. So sorry. A lot of people will never get the chance to see that, but it's kind of built for that as well. And that's, something that attributes to our success with having them be so peaceful. And with a lack of stimulus, they can kind of just like replicate what they would be doing naturally, unbothered in the wild. But
are you telling me that there aren't a lot of podcasters wandering around in the wild trying to get pictures of these cheetahs? I'm offended.
In certain regions, it is pretty prevalent that the cheetahs have been documented and things. And it's incredible to watch them kind of encounter that as well and adapt to that force that they have. But we do have some cheetahs next to our rhinos on exhibit, and more than likely they're always cubs, which is super cool. A lot of facilities do exhibit cheetahs, but it's rare and unique to see kind of everything come to fruition to be able to display them. And then you had mentioned Kegu Kambali as well. We do have a cheetah and a dog that live together. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Kegu Kambali, they've been together for 8 years now. They were introduced when they were very young, about 6 to 8 weeks old, which kind of formulates that bond that they have with each other. We would obviously not be able to just put an adult dog with an adult cheetah. Nobody's done that to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nobody would place that bet. I don't.
No.
No, yeah. And dogs are fast, but cheetahs are faster.
Yeah. So let's talk about why these two are together and why that decision was made.
So Kumbali was born here at Metro Richmond Zoo on May 13, 2015. In his litter, he was the runt, which does happen with litters across many different animal taxa. But in his particular case, he was not gaining weight properly. We usually weigh the cubs at least once a day, if not twice a day, after they're born for the first couple weeks. And he was just not keeping up with the other two. So we supplemented him and bottle fed him a little bit just to give him that kind of edge, to keep him strong and put him back with his mom, because that's really ideal when you're talking about raising babies. That's taking on quite the time commitment, and it's more ideal for them to be with other conspecifics. So eventually we kind of noticed he's not doing as well, and we made the decision to pull him permanently and hand rear him. After that decision was made and he was completely stable and doing fantastic, we kind of thought, well, who's going to be his best friend? Because cheetahs are more the flight-oriented creatures than fight. They are considered cats, big cats in some circles.
In some circles.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about that. They purr. I know. There's the debate.
Yeah. They look fierce.
They do.
Don't get me wrong. They can put on a show.
But also they're big babies.
But yes, they are big babies. And we needed this little baby to have another baby friend. So this is nothing new. A lot of zoos have done this for over 30 years. Pairing dogs and cheetahs together works out really well. Cheetahs, from my perspective, have like a really great combination of cat and dog-like behavior and characteristics. So it just tends to work. So we found Kago in a shelter in Alabama, and they were able to get him to us, and their age ranges matched up perfectly. And there was a little bit of a hesitation at first, like, oh my gosh, I've been an only child on both ends. But they were very open to becoming fast friends. So
fast friends. So what goes into making a good cheetah dog? Like, when you were looking for puppies, how do you fit? Because there are a lot of shelter dogs out there.
Yeah, and that's an excellent question.
I assume not a Chihuahua, but outside of that.
Yeah, so size does play into it. But another thing to consider is kind of lifespan. There's a lot of facilities that kind of take the educational moment to do Anatolian Shepherds or Rhodesian Ridgebacks that are used in cheetah conservation overseas in Africa, to be able to take that moment to educate the public on the impact of incorporating dogs in farmland over there. However, sometimes the lifespan doesn't really add up as nicely. So we were looking for a lab mix for that reason. Cheetahs in human care generally are 12 to 14 years. We've had some that have reached 15 plus. But however, the average is 12 to 14. So we were looking for a dog that wasn't going to be too large and live kind of the same lifespan, so that they could be brothers for life as much as we could control.
And when we were searching for Kago the dog, we did disclose to like the shelter that hey, he would be living with a cheetah. We wanted to make sure that they were on board with that, and of course they were. And we had to disclose that, hey, this dog's about to become quite famous, and they are, and everyone loves them. So
no, I like in the gift shop, it's such a little thing, but I really like that you can buy a little stuffed duo of the two of them, and it's got the names on it and everything. And
oh yeah, everyone loves those. We have the large Kumbali and Kago set, and then the little miniature set. So
the little one's the one that got me. There's just something really cute about it, you know? Yeah.
What's funny is I will always say Kumbali and Kago, and then some people always say Kago and Kumbali, and there's always tension on which staff member says which.
I don't know if I can get on board with Kumbali and Kago.
I think I'm the only one that says Kumbali and Kago. So when the zoo puts anything out publicly, I have to say it will always be Kumbali and Kago. But the keepers can say Kago and Kumbali.
That's amazing. The stare down that you're getting right now.
Yeah,
is
I
very
know.
intense.
The cheetah was first, and then the dog joined.
I mean, that's fair. That's valid. Sequentially, that is true.
I mean, I would just say K and K and just leave it at that.
That's what they are on the daily schedule. We also
yeah.
affectionally refer to them as cat dog.
Cat dog.
Shout out to Nickelodeon.
That's amazing.
And also Sarah Hart for coining that here. One of our keepers here refers to them as cat dog, which is perfect.
Nice. Very cool. And so, so that's a great overview of the cheetahs and the cheetah and dog situation. How important do you think the breeding is that you do here? Because, I mean, that is a lot of success.
I think it is so crucial, not just like to our facility, but also the other facilities that we kind of work with, rather. So we are paired with a lot of other facilities in ZAA, in particular, to send cheetahs there and for them to send cheetahs to us to kind of maintain a really good genetic vitality of our population of cheetahs. So with our breeding success, we're just able to not only offer more exhibiting and more breeding animals to our current holders, but also to expand that collection as well. Because there's a lot of other zoos that don't currently have cheetahs that would love to have cheetahs, and there's only kind of one way to do that.
That is true. That is fair. Yeah. Very cool. So moving away from that for a second, we will come back to animal stuff. But one thing that I can't help but notice about this place is that, you know, it's a medium-sized zoo, I would say. But it doesn't seem like there's like a crazy huge staff here. Like, I'm sure that you are well-staffed and able to do all the things, nothing like that. But it seems to be a very close-knit staff. I've seen a lot of keepers joking around with each other today. Mm-hmm. Y'all seem to be very much having fun with each other already and understand a lot about each other. And you gave a shout-out to another keeper and all of that. So what is your habitat like here?
I love that question. Really, I think one of the reasons I love this field is I have absolutely loved getting to work with pretty much everybody I've ever gotten to work with here.
Except for that one you were telling me about earlier.
Sure, but that's a secret.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
We don't need to say a name there. But this field just really seems to attract really lovely, wonderful people, people who are just very dedicated and passionate about what they do. Just very kind to each other. And I don't know outside of this sphere here, if it is like that at all facilities, but the keepers here on the team that I have worked with here, I've been here for 10 years now. Wow. And, people, whether they're here or have moved on to other facilities or another career, they're just the best people I've ever met or worked with. And I just think there's something about this field where people uniting to do something together that they might have, different methods and ideas and philosophies about what the individual pieces look like. But the overall goal is so unified and so important to everybody that I think there's just always a lot of common ground for everybody to find. So you will see people, joking around with each other. When people are sick, they'll send people soup. And it's just, and we are a smaller team. We have our staffing goal here for keepers is around 20 keepers with expansion, as we need, as we grow. But really just attracts a lot of really wonderful people. And I think that speaks to it. We actually had a USDA inspector here one time for just our normal routine inspection that everybody gets, who made the comment, you guys don't have to be so nice and pretend to be so nice to each other over the radio. Don't put a show for us. And we're like, oh, no, that's just how we talk to each other. We like each other and we work together. We're a team.
That's really cool. I love that. That's actually, literally the reason I started the podcast was as I went from zoo to zoo around the country touring, as a musician, I was talking to keepers and falling in love with all of y'all. Y'all are amazing humans.
They're the best group.
It's true. And that's why I love sharing the stories. And I like to keep at least part of the focus on the people in each episode rather than just, tell me about your binturong, which, by the way, you will be telling me about your binturong shortly. Sure. But the biggest bummer of doing the podcast is that occasionally I'll go to a place and, especially as I get to know people, and if I've been there 2 or 3 times, my life tends to bring me in circles where, now that I'm in Richmond, I'll probably be back here 3 or 4 times in the next year, just as my life naturally progresses.
Sure.
And so we'll all get to know each other.
Yeah.
And you'll start to tell me things. We'll be friends, whatever. And sometimes you hear this stuff and it's exactly what you're describing. And sometimes you hear this stuff and it's like, oh yeah, the bird team hates the hoof stock team. They're trying to get us fired. We're trying to get them fired. I'm like,
such a shame.
but you're all such good people, and you all are working a poop job, literally. And the rates aren't the best in the world. We all know it. It is what it is. But because you're passionate and you love these things, and that's beautiful, and we should all be best friends.
Yeah.
And so when I see that at a facility, it really makes me happy. And I was noticing it today.
Yeah.
Thank you for that compliment.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nice. I 100% agree with you. We have a fabulous team of amazing humans, and they very much fit that mold.
That's awesome.
Just great people.
Yeah.
I like because we're not a giant zoo, so we do interact with each other fairly often. We run into each other all the time. The park is not ginormous. So I imagine there's some zoos that you go to that you would never interact with different departments, but we see each other often here. So.
Oh yeah, I have a bunch of friends at Columbus, and I love the Columbus Zoo. Amazing facility.
We were just there.
Have also, that's right. You guys were at the conference, and I have so many keeper friends there that I've introduced to each other, or that haven't met each other yet because they're just in completely different departments. And that is, by the way, not one of the zoos. That is what I was talking about at all. But it's just like you said, it's so big that if you're working in Arctic and someone else is working in Asia, they might never meet. They have their own break room. They have their own entrances. They have, whatever. And I've made a point a couple of times of being like, oh my gosh, you have to meet this person because you all get along so well. But it's why am I introducing you?
That's interesting to think about.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. I'm glad that y'all have that vibe here. And for everyone listening, because I know a lot of you work in zoos or volunteer at zoos or whatever, or aquariums, don't forget, I pay more attention than the average guest maybe, but that stuff is noticeable. We hear radio calls, we hear you talking to each other, and I think that's important for everyone to remember, whether it's positive or negative, people will hear that and get that vibe. So just something to think about.
Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I think it also is so unique for our size of facility that we don't divide our animal care sections into taxonomic groups. So a lot of the keepers are taking care of mammals, birds, hoofstock, primates, and they all can kind of talk to each other about a lot of different aspects of their individual routines as well. So it's not so divided amongst the zoo. And then we also do a lot of cross training, which is not always super prevalent in zoos. So a lot of the keepers that have been here long term are training on, 5 different sections by the time they've been here for 10 years. So they know a good portion of the zoo. So they have a lot of things to talk about with a lot of different keepers as well. And we can do mentoring and things like that. So
yeah. And even just professionally, people very quickly have just a lot in common just for shared animals and what they do here.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely nice to have something that you care about that much that you can all share. That is very cool. And caring about animals is obviously what we do here, which is why I need to hear about your binturong situation. So I am obsessed with binturongs. As y'all saw from my computer and my logo there, we've got a little crazy about binturongs. So what can you tell me about
Isaac?
Yeah, Isaac. Isaac,
yeah,
okay.
His name's Isaac.
I haven't seen him today. I'm very sad he wasn't out.
Yeah, so he has access in or out. He kind of gets to choose his own adventure there a little bit. He's often out in the high hammock when he's here, or snoozing in a bush or something. He has a free choice during the day to kind of go where he pleases. And they are relatively elusive, in the wild. Not a lot of people, get to see them in the wild for that reason. But
or know they exist.
Isaac is, this is going to sound terrible, and I don't mean it to be. He's a kind of a run-of-the-mill binturong fella. He's got his binturong moods where sometimes he's just very peaceful and snoozy, and he's happy to, be around his keepers and participate in his training. And other days, he'll just holler at you for being anywhere near his food and just scream at you about it a little bit.
They're so good at screaming.
Which, full respect for that. Sometimes if someone's around your food, you want to scream at them a little bit too. So, Isaac participates in that.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, I like Isaac, and I haven't even seen him.
That's valid.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. What got you hooked on binturong? I'm always curious about that. Like, what makes people draw to like a particular species?
Sure. So it was the Virginia Zoo, and it was their habitat is very cool, and it's very wooded.
Yeah.
And then there are these walkways that they can go on coming out of the woods, and the boxes. Mm-hmm. And the first time that I was at the Virginia Zoo, I was there and I was like, binturong, okay, cool. And there was nothing. And I was like, okay. And all of a sudden, much like in like Jurassic Park, the trees at the end of the log started to move. Mm-hmm. And then this weird, smooshed face, black, red, panda-y thing came walking out, walked right up like as close as it could get to me, sniffed, crawled into the box, curled up and went to sleep. And my heart grew 3 sizes that day. And they became one of my favorite species. Yeah. Actually, I will be at the Virginia Zoo doing an interview with their Asia team tomorrow. Oh. It's my first time getting there since I started the podcast. Awesome. And I cannot wait to share with them that, I'm very passionate about them. That's awesome. I have, I think, every stuffed binturong available in the U.S., and also was sent one from the UK, and have 2 custom ones that were made for me. Like, it's really quite entertaining, but I really love them. Yeah.
Love it. The buttered popcorn smell doesn't hurt either. So that's also a nice bonus.
I want your opinion on this. I want all of your opinions on this, and we're going to go around the room. Okay. What do binturongs actually smell like to you?
Sometimes buttered popcorn. I mean, to me, that's kind of the closest smell.
Okay. What's your thought?
It varies a little.
Oh, I think it depends on the individual.
Okay, well, let's talk about Isaac.
Isaac specifically. I think he smells like Fritos.
Fritos. Yeah, that's interesting. Fair. We'll say a combination of both.
Okay, fair. You are a good communications person.
Thank you.
Walking that line. I smell Fritos with most binturongs. I've only ever been to one binturong habitat where I truly smelled butter popcorn, and it was at Brookfield. And for whatever reason, I literally thought they were like pumping in the smell, or like there was going to be like a popcorn cart around there tying it in, because it literally, that whole building smells like buttered popcorn. But every other time, and I have held multiple binturongs on my shoulders and like gotten to feed a bunch and stuff. I've had very good luck with binturong keepers hooking up some connections there, and every single time I smell Fritos, and kind of stale Fritos, if you really want to be specific. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you like took your dog's feet and
the Frito feet. Yeah.
It's very similar.
The sleepy Frito feet.
Yeah. And 100%, I can't ascertain yet if it is the binturongs, or like we know that we all experience tastes and smells differently. So do we smell Frito and you smell buttered popcorn and you're just trying to get out of trouble? But after the whole name thing, you're just going to be very in the middle with everything. But are we just smelling the same scent differently? Or like, I find this fascinating.
I mean, I think that's valid because there is like, especially if an animal is like sleepy or their body temperature is a little bit elevated, I think that Frito smell, I'm speaking specifically based on dogs sleeping on top of me and, doing what all dog owners do and like sniffing a Frito foot. Like we all do,
right? Let's not pretend we don't.
Let's not pretend. As their body temperature elevates a little bit, it's more noticeable. I also think the popcorn smell, like the most popcorny binturongs I've ever smelled is at the Virginia Zoo, where I walked around the corner and I was like, that is buttered popcorn. I really see it now. And then after I smelled that, the more I could smell it on Isaac, and I was like, oh, there it is. There's the notes.
Interesting.
You'll have to let her know tomorrow if they smell like butter popcorn there.
They're popcorny,
Yeah, I'll let y'all know. I'm very excited now I'm even more excited about that because but I'm so excited that you said Frito because you were the first person who I've asked that to who came up with the exact scent. I've had a lot of people when I say Frito go, yes, it's more that, you're right. But you were the first person who's been like, duh, Frito. And I'm like, yes, best friends.
This one, he always smells like Fritos to me. Like ones I worked with, like in Florida or other states. Like I think it almost depends on like what they're being fed as well.
It's very diet.
If you feed them buttered popcorn, they're...
Well, yeah. If we got popcorn in Richmond, then they're just sweating it out. But no, and it might be like also where you are, like in warmer climate, they might kind of exhibit a different smell as well. But yeah, like they're just so unique. Like they're one of my favorites as well. I've tried to create breeding programs a couple different places, and they're quite difficult.
I am currently very intrigued by the idea of trying to figure out some form of way to start a conservation program for them, because the only one that exists is in France right now. It is called ABC, which is their scientific name is Arctictis binturong, and so it's that conservation. Okay. But and as they are only a vulnerable species, there's not a huge push for it. But I did learn recently that they are endangered in certain areas, and so I think a conservation program in those areas or focusing on those areas would be very cool. This is something that I literally discovered 2.5 weeks ago and have just started looking into, but like the idea of starting some kind of program is very intriguing to me because most people don't even know they exist. And awareness is such a huge part of conservation. And I think if you see them, and like you said, the buttered popcorn or Frito thing, and the smushed face, and the prehensile tails, and the ear tufts.
The ear tufts, the whiskers.
Yeah, like, there's so much
the
good.
Yawns.
Oh, the yawns.
I love the tail.
Yeah, just all of it. Also, I will say, having the first time that I had a binturong on my shoulders, it crawled across them, and it used its tail to like hold my neck to do so. And I have understood the word prehensile since I was a little kid.
But you got schooled in it.
I never understood the word prehensile before. When I thought of a prehensile tail, I thought of it like an arm with like a couple muscles that can move. But as I felt every little muscle shift, it was the most, like, it's almost like how a snake walks or something. And it was the most startling, revelatory thing to me to realize that, like, no, it's not like an arm or whatever. It's all these little self-controlled muscles. And that's astonishing.
It's really cool.
It's so cool.
And they're, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think out of a couple of continents, they're, along with the kinkajou, the only two mammals. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
I'm getting a thumbs up over there.
Yeah.
Mammals that have the prehensile tails, which is also very cool and unique.
Yeah.
And
I also just like how you say
itself.
that word with your accent.
I have an accent?
I have an accent?
Oh, whoops.
Oh my gosh, that was great. I enjoy it. So another thing that we wanted to talk about here was the African penguin conservation stuff being done here. And y'all have a heck of a colony.
We do.
As someone who volunteers in an aquarium with 13 penguins right now, it seems like child's play compared to what y'all got going on. So,
we got good numbers there.
Yeah.
A lot of breeding pairs, a lot of success. We got a lot of love between those birds. They're just very successful at what they do.
Love is a word.
Love is a word. For some of them, love is the word. For some of them, they need vacation homes away from their partners. But yeah, we do have a really fantastic breeding program here for African penguins as well. Numbers.
Right now we have 50 in the colony.
So many birds.
I think,
Yeah, you're right.
No, not even so many birds. That's so much poop. By my math, that's about 150 projectile poops a day.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Impressive.
we love it when it goes directly in the pool.
Or in your shoes, or your leg, or, wherever else on you when they're nearby.
Yeah. So I like I said, I volunteer at Aquarium of Niagara when I'm home, which is rare. And so I spent some time with Humboldt penguins, which are very similar to African penguins, despite being on like a different continent and stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with this type of penguin, but just in general, talk about the colony and the birds a little bit for my listeners.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, like how are the Humboldts like as far as like attitude.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Because I don't want to let go too much.
Oh no, I mean, every one of them is very different. We've had, some have to be separated because of attacks and stuff, and some are very loving, and some, you could do a soap opera. I mean, some of them literally, they're mated pairs that are off cheating, with each other every day. Like, I mean,
So
it's
same.
fantastic. Yeah, they're just
Because I
insane.
wasn't sure if, like, just the African penguins were jerks.
Oh no. But only some of them. Only some of them are the sweetest, though. It's amazing. Yeah.
No, I love the penguins. I know our staff is a little bit 50-50, like, torn on them as a whole, which is totally fair. They do like to explore the world with their beaks, and sometimes in a very harsh and quick manner, open. So... And that happens, and that's just how they express themselves. But eventually...
What a nice way to say that. That's just how they express themselves.
Yeah,
They're being polite over here.
Literally, I saw that you're wearing a Band-Aid on your hand, and my first thought was I wondered if it was a penguin. I was like, I'm not going to ask, and we don't have to share, but that was my literal, first thought.
Normally, yes. And I do have, a couple, maybe for life, little marks here on my hands, especially, where my rings kind of sit, because they just love that. They're like...
Oh, yeah, I assumed you would take those off when you go in there.
Oh, no.
You are brave.
By now, it's just I've accepted the lifetime.
It's enrichment.
Yeah. But no, and you kind of fall in love with individuals, especially when we have a lot of chick rearing to do, and you know them from when they can fit in the palm of your hand to when you can barely contain them under one arm. And you watch them grow up, and with penguins in particular, they just look so different in all their life stages. So it's a little bit like a person almost. You're just like, oh, this one's just one color, and it's so cute, and not biting you yet. And you're just cleaning up after it, which you do their whole lives, of course. And then they go through different phases, and they have 50 different personalities just within the first 5 years, I think. And different types of feathering. And when you see some in our colony that don't have their tuxedos yet, those are our juveniles. Which those are the most loving, in case anybody is curious. But once they go through their adult molt and they're done being weird naked birds for a bit and get their tuxedo, then they're just on the market. Then it's a dating app.
They're ready to mingle.
And they're like, thank you so much, Mom, but I don't need you anymore. Nor do I need to cuddle with you, which we all kind of have to come to terms with as penguin keepers. But it's worth it because... we were talking about love earlier, they just don't stop loving each other. So
and they're long-lived birds.
Yes. And speaking of long-lived, we actually had on record the oldest penguin. Her name was E.T. And she lived to 43 years old.
Yep.
Which was quite the feat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she was rocking it very much up until the end.
She
if
really
I'm honest.
was. She really was.
Yeah, it wasn't even a sad situation that sometimes we get into in the field. But
she was swimming in the pool, flirting with men.
Yeah, and she was really fortunate in having her son as a pair for her during the last several years of her life, just as a companion. Where she didn't have to deal with mating or anything like that. So shout out to Einstein for that. Best son of the year, or the years. But our current oldest right now is 32. His name is Demersis, which is after their scientific name. Which is pretty neat.
Nice.
But yeah, so when you're taking care of them, you're taking care of them through a lot of different stages pretty rapidly because they do gain weight and grow crazy. I mean, I think
you
people
blink and they're you're henchman size now.
Yeah. We're not dealing with pesto,
right?
But
also shout out to pesto wherever you are. We love you.
Yes, I wish we did have cold weather penguins because I'd like to embrace that side of penguindom as well. But yeah, the African guys, they do have, the nickname Jackass Penguin, not only because they make that braying sound that does sound a lot like a donkey, but also because their personalities come into question sometimes.
Yes, that's right. Is it called an Yeah, I'm good at this. Is it called an ecstatic display with African penguins as well? Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if that was across
Which is
all
the
penguins
best
or
name.
Okay.
ever for it.
So it
'cause
is.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's
it's a
amazing.
full
perfectly
body.
named.
Oh, yeah.
Full body reaction,
Yeah.
just joy from head to toe. Like it's delightful.
Yeah, I love it.
Such a great display.
I one time was actually at the aquarium when somebody was being a bit of a jackass penguin to another person because she wanted a little bit more space than maybe we had to give at the moment, and started to freak out a little bit. And I was just like, "Don't worry, guys, it's just an ecstatic display." And I was just so proud of that one, and everyone lost it. And I was like, "Yeah, she's not being mean. She's just it's an ecstatic display."
But no, with 50 of them, it is very much chaotic to feed them, but also a lot of fun. So a lot of our penguin keepers have been really good at memory games because we do
It's
record how much fish each penguin eats per feeding. We feed them twice a day. We're doing herring and capelin. And the capelin, you're feeding them a lot more than you're feeding the herring. So that's a lot of numbers to keep track of. So that's definitely a particular skill set to have.
Especially when they'll occasionally lose their bands. We have them, for anybody who doesn't know, we do band the penguins. Some people ask if it's to keep them from flying, which of course they are flighted birds. That is not its intended purpose, but that's why we're here, to educate people about that. So that's okay. Ask the question, we will answer.
Yep.
But they all do have different color combinations. They either have pony beads, like they have friendship bracelets, which is delightful, or they have, we've had a couple of different versions, but most of them now are the pony beads. But those occasionally will fall off, or we'll remove them if they're molting and they're, gaining a lot of weight in pre-molt, and they'll need that band removed. But the keepers can tell them apart just based on their spot pattern amongst all of these birds. They can just look at the spots and know who it is. No friendship bracelet needed.
That's extra impressive.
It's very impressive.
Most facilities very specifically rely on the bands. And I've talked to a lot of penguin keepers who are like, yeah, I know that every spot pattern is different, but who can memorize those for the 8 birds at our facility? So with y'all saying there are 50, I am just like, we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
And there is one of our keepers, Jessica Gring, she put together a lovely photo album just in case there was ever any questions. So we have a nice little family photo album of penguins and their spot patterns.
Nice.
If we should ever need to, reference that, but they do. They just look at them and go, oh, that's Presley.
So cool. I always talk about how I think we need a Netflix documentary about our penguin colony. I think it would be so big. There'd be so much different drama, chaos. The pairing off would be so fascinating. So if there's any producers listening, get in contact. Maybe we could work something out.
I did love Penguin Town on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. That one was good.
That one was good.
But could it be... But where would ours compare to that? Come on, the potential.
The budget would be a lot less because they wouldn't have to. They wouldn't have to go all the way up and down the Cape of Africa.
There's that.
There's that. But no, and a lot of facilities have reported a lot of cheating and drama. For the most part, we're very fortunate to not have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Our penguins are dedicated to one another, which is, bittersweet because it's just way more eggs to deal with.
Too successful.
Yes, they're sometimes too successful, and I'm like, oh my goodness, where are all you facilities that are wanting to build penguin exhibits and take 20 penguins maybe immediately?
50 penguins. 50.
Yeah, and that's an exhibit that we're kind of looking to redo as well, which I'm really excited for, with underwater viewing.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked for that.
Nice.
And what's our count so far? I don't think we mentioned that for our number of penguins.
316 hatchings here at the zoo since 1995. So
wow, that's a lot of birds.
Yeah, which is nothing compared to Baltimore.
I think they hit 1,000 recently.
Yeah.
But they also have over 100 birds, whereas our operation is 50.
Only one.
But they can definitely shake and move.
Thanks for that. I wish everybody could see, Alex's face after saying that, but they can't. But that's okay. Yeah. So, is there anything else in particular that y'all want to talk about here at the zoo? Because I know I have one more topic I want to touch on, but I want to make sure I get in anything you guys want to talk about.
We're always building. We got lots of new stuff, coming down the pipes. Can't say too much about what's coming, but we got a big area we're working on. So
cool. I'll come out and we can talk about it afterwards.
Coming out soon, but.
Very cool. All right. Then the topic, which is what drew us here originally, is y'all have some baby snow leopards.
You said my favorite words. Yeah, they're fantastic.
They're amazing.
They are amazing.
Spent a lot of time over there today, especially since your stupid binturong wasn't out.
I'll tell him.
Darn Isaac.
But spent a lot of time over there today.
Yeah.
And they were being very snow leopardy.
Yeah, that's what they do best.
One of them, oh my gosh, so the one of them, so I'm here with Jay Meredith, who is here doing the thing but doesn't have a mic, so can't say anything. Oh. And this is like, that's why we were talking, and we were like he was like, did you see this for Zoo News? He like tagged me in it, and I was like, he's like, I have to go see them, and I was like, me too. And then I think Taylor, you commented and were like, let us know when you're coming, and that led to the whole thing. Yep. And we were like, this is a cool collaboration. Let's do this because we need to go see baby snow leopards. And so we're standing at the snow leopards, and Mom's right up front, laying at the sure, yeah. Why not? I only care about babies. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. No, and so. Right up front, and the one cub comes up, and like we were chatting, and this cub was clearly like, no, pay attention to me. So was like pawing at the edge of the exhibit and like looking right at us, and then started to go up the fence a little bit and climbed on Mom, and Mom kind of was like, meh, stop it. And instead of getting down, she just kept climbing. So she was at like the top of the exhibit and was totally confident and totally comfortable, and then jumped down and just doing snow leopard things. Yep. It was astonishing to see. We very much loved all of the time with them. They're doing a lot of pouncing. They're doing a lot of adorableness. But so tell me everything.
Oh, tell you everything. Okay. So
you can even tell me about Mom, because we do actually care.
Okay, great. Because that's my, not to anthropomorphize a snow leopard, but that animal is my best friend animal. So.
Nice. Good. With Alakai.
What's that?
That's me with Alakai.
Oh, you're a big Alakai fan?
Yeah.
So we love Alakai. She is maybe one of, no hate here. Like nothing but love for any of these cats. But Alakai is Elsa's cub from last year. Mm-hmm. And of all of the cubs, they're all wonderful. They all have different personalities, as you would expect. She is the shyest. I would say she's a lot more like her dad, Nitro, where it's like they're little Sour Patch Kids a little bit, where they're sweet and then they're sour, like in a delightful way, where they just have really big feelings, but then they feel absolutely fine, and they are like, oh, good, we can interact with you. And then sometimes, oh, what are you doing here? Get out of here.
That's about right.
But in a very, on a pendulum kind of swing there. But we love her. But she is much more like her dad than these cubs. So her cubs this year were born on April 28th. That's typically around the time snow leopards are born. Their breeding season is usually between January and February. Usually we can count on starting to hear like the sounds of love with them about 2 weeks before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
That's about how that goes. And then often, even in the wild, they're born usually June, July kind of time period. But they were born on April 28th. They're doing fantastic. It's Sasha and Mira. They both are, Elsa is their mom, and this is her. She's had 7 cubs in her lifetime. She's a 11-year-old female. Nitro is about 11 and a half years old. They came to us when they were... around 3 years old or so. So no, I'm lying there. They came to us when they were young, like less than a year old. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Taylor warned me you were a bit of a liar.
Yeah, that's me. I love to lie. I love to lie. No, but they actually arrived, Elsa and Nitro, the parents of these cubs, about a month and a half after I started here. So I've gotten to grow up with them in my own career, so I'm particularly attached and biased towards these cats.
Nice.
Just as a disclaimer. But these cubs are very much, the brave one that you saw is probably Sasha. She's very much like her mother, Elsa, where she's very playful, very interactive. The keepers also do a phenomenal job working with the cubs to help socialize them appropriately as they age. Always gauging whether mom feels comfortable with it or not. But, these animals aren't going to be released into the wild. They are part of a breeding population and an SSP to help try to save this incredible species that's dwindling year by year. So every birth is really important. She's had the 7 cubs. This is her 5th litter. She has had 2 sets of twins. Her first set of twins was born in, I believe, 2016. And then every other cub up until now has been a singleton. So it's been very fun and very cool to have the twins back again. Elsa's also just a really great mom. She's like a great balance of she's not super disciplinarian. She's really not super into that, but she'll be really playful and roll around with her cubs. And she very much lets them be independent and explore. And sometimes if they're like, Mom, no, wait, come back. She's like, no, I'm having alone time right now. But all of her cubs have always been very confident, very competent, excited to explore their habitat, and just really great cats. But the keepers also get to take a lot of credit for how comfortable they are. Like when she comes and interacts with you, they're going to see people throughout their lives. So they're not stressed. They're not fearful. They participate in a lot of their own health care. So we can, have them stand and open their mouths and, can do blood draws and things like that voluntarily. So that's a really important aspect of their care. I'm jumbling all over the place here because I could talk about snow leopards for 3 days straight.
Well, that's amazing. That is all of the stuff that I want and love. And I love the passion about animals. This is why, like I said, I started this podcast, hearing people just get excited about their animals. Yeah. And then it just literally, I'm like, okay, I like Cristen more now because just seeing that passion, how can you not,
they're just,
it's amazing.
They're just the best. They'll win you over quickly. And then, so there's Elsa, who is just, I love how they're always portrayed too on documentaries, which is true. They are very majestic and beautiful creatures, that's for sure. And they're incredible, mighty hunters. You see them careening down, these giant rocky cliff sides in Kazakhstan where, they're going after blue sheep and argali and things like that. But then they're just also so goofy and doofy and just absolutely clowns of creatures. They're so delightful and so rewarding to get to work with. They recognize their keepers. They, see them immediately and know who they are. And there's Elsa, who's very, friendly and very attuned towards her keepers. And there's Nitro that you kind of have to, he's a typical cat where you kind of have to win him over a little bit. Once he knows you, he grows to love you. And then you've got a friend for life. But he takes a little bit longer to trust people than Elsa does, for sure.
Makes sense. They're all, like you said, they're all different. But that's really cool. Yeah. So for the times that you've only had one cub instead of twins, have you ever thought of pairing one with a dog?
No.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's a great question, but it's also it's a joke, but also it's a great way to kind of think about, we do pair cheetahs with dogs because of the behavioral profile that they have, which is, appropriate. But just for anybody out there who isn't familiar with snow leopard or tiger behavior, if you were to do that with a tiger or a snow leopard, the likelihood that it would go well as they, age up, their behavioral profile would not go well for the dog. So, it's one of the things we're always gauging animal behavior and the species and all of that. But no dogs for a snow leopard.
I was thinking maybe a husky though, because snow leopard, right?
Like a Malamute.
Yeah, just a perfect match.
Amazing. Well, I have taken more than enough of your time, but we do always end it with our final 2 questions. First of all, conservation organization that y'all would like to give a shout out to.
Yes, I have 2 shout outs for you, if that's
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah.
So the first shout out is both of these organizations are new organizations that the zoo connected with recently. They're both from Uganda. The first one is Save Wildlife Uganda, and we connected with them, and they help strengthen local communities there. And as the local communities are strengthened and can provide for themselves, so are the wildlife protected as well. So this is an organization near Queen Elizabeth National Park. Anyways, I'll let you in on a secret is that we are going to start selling in our gift shop in the next couple of months some like baskets that these local communities there have learned to hand weave, and it's a way that they're having incomes for themselves so that the wildlife can be protected. So that's a cool thing that we have coming out soon.
They are gorgeous, by the way.
They are
You brought
gorgeous.
a couple
Yeah,
examples, and
I'm holding them right here
I'm
for
in
the
love.
listeners.
Yeah, that medium-sized one there is
Yeah, so that will be coming soon. Another thing
Very affordable.
it was cool is that they
spoken like somebody who works at Chick-fil-A.
very affordable. Hey, that's the price
I'm
they
helping
gave
Mark.
us.
Plug.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Chick-fil-A. No, it was another cool thing is they talk about how they have like reformed poachers where they would take like the wire from traps and they would repurpose that into like animal figurines that we're going to sell as well.
Nice, very cool.
Second plug is for Conservation Through Public Health, which is an organization near Blindy National Forest that helps to protect the mountain gorillas. So we are going to start supporting them as well.
Nice, very cool. And then it is time.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
Have you been prepped for this?
I have a very, you would think that we would have 100 of them, and maybe they've just been so prevalent
That's what it is.
that nothing comes to mind directly, one mild thing.
One came to mind to her immediately.
Okay,
Because I asked her this before I prepped her.
One. No, that's okay. Okay. All right. So for those of you who have visited Metro Richmond Zoo and been on our train ride, we have a great group of apes that are on islands that are featured out there.
Which I could not tell were on islands at first. And I literally looked at Jay and I was like, there's no way we're in with primates, right?
It's a little trick of the eye. You think you're in an immersive
Little Disney.
environment.
It was very well done. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, wow, I'm in with eland and kudu and chimps. Wow.
And there's Dave.
Wow wasn't necessarily the word that I was thinking, but yes, that was what I was thinking.
There's no seatbelt, so I know I can run away.
It's a survival challenge, really.
Yeah. Yes, Hunger Games style in our train yard. But no, so the guests can meet Dave out there in a way, one of our chimpanzee males. And when I was being trained on the ape routine, I was well briefed that Dave had a lot of feelings, as do a lot of chimps. Mm-hmm. Which, we're pretty closely
We're basically
aligned.
chimps.
So it makes perfect sense. I think we should all kind of relate to that on a lot of different levels. So I met Dave and I was like, wow, they were right. He's very loud and he likes to bang around and he likes to throw poop. Okay, cool. Gathering all this data. And what's unique about Dave is a lot of times he gets mad that someone he trusts is now bringing someone else into the equation, which was me as the trainee.
Betrayal.
Yeah. He's just like, I can't believe you. We have this great relationship, and how dare you, without invite, no RSVP, bring this person into my building and expect me to remain calm? Absolutely not.
The audacity.
Yes. Mind blown. So we were doing the trainings, and I a lot of times was kind of hiding behind different alcoves in the building to make sure that he didn't see me too much. And I was,
Or minimize the poop.
and I also did not
Sure.
want to welcome the shower that he was willing to provide. So we were finishing up in the building, and I was like, cool, I don't have any poop on me. My colleague who is training me has no poop on them. We're winning. Dave's winning. He's not super, worked up. We go to leave, and we're locking up everything, and he's shifted in, and we gave him some, enrichment and things, and he's just kind of being a little rough with it. And we're like, okay, we have a limited time to get out of here unscathed. But then he was like, I decided it was 1 second too long. So then he starts gathering ammunition, and we're like, oh, we need to get out of here. So we need to cover all of our bases and make sure all the lights are off and everything's good. We set up everything, and we do put fans in the 8 buildings just for air circulation because, animals sometimes have a fragrance. And by sometimes, I mean like all the time. So this fan's
And it ain't
going.
Fritos or buttered popcorn.
No. The binturong life is a separate identity to what ape keeping is like. So we're like, all right, let's go. We're going to make a run for it. Like, we're in between 2 areas of the hallway, and I run first, and I'm safe. And then he makes a break for it. Dave chucks a big wad of feces, and my coworker laughs. He's just like, "Ha! You didn't get me." Well, lo and behold, Dave was aiming for the fan, and it hit the fan, and it shot up the entirety of his back, including the back of his head. And it was just silence for a couple moments that felt longer than it probably was. And I was like, oh, this shit really hit the fan. It's like, let's go.
But you were clean.
I was clean.
Amazing.
There you go.
Amazing.
Other than being like spit on, but
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
What a genius prank.
If I had
know.
to choose a source of sphincter, I would choose to be spit on.
Yeah.
They're smart.
mastermind.
He was using his
is something
tools.
else.
He is.
He is a tool use.
That's amazing. Yeah, it
He
sounds
said,
like a bit of
I
a tool.
talked my environment.
I know that band, Sarah.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for doing this. It's been a blast.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
out and including us. We appreciate it.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Our first episode from the Metro Richmond Zoo, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to build the relationship there and working with that team in the future. They were just fantastic. It was just such a cool experience to get to share those stories with y'all. So, coming up, we're going to stay in Virginia for another week because we're also headed to the Virginia Zoo, and you're going to get to hear about some red pandas and binturongs and other animals in the Asia section there, which is a lot of fun. Then we have a really interesting, kind of different interview coming up after that. I spoke to Josh Courteau at Species 360, which is the company that makes the ZIMS program, which is what most zoos use to manage their animal populations. So that's pretty cool, and I'm excited to kind of share all of that with you. And then after that, you're going to hear from Mike McClure. Mike is an elephant expert who literally helps reshape elephant feet. It's one of the most amazing niche things I've ever encountered. And it was an in-person interview. I had my hands on elephant feet. I actually met Mike when I was drumming with Emily one time because he helps take care of Emily and helped take care of Ruth before her passing at Buttonwood Park Zoo. And just an amazing, unique thing. So those are the episodes we're starting the season off with. And there's some other really cool stuff currently in the works, y'all. I'm really excited for 2025. So with all of that said, I do need to take a moment here to say thank you to my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, and Kevin Williams. And to remind y'all that the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.